Hi, Linda. Hi, Michelle.
How are you?
I'm good, Linda. How are you?
Glad the weather is now suddenly better.
Absolutely. That was a rough few days.
Yeah. No fun.
Hi, Dean. Hi, Susan. Hi, Michelle.
Does this still feel like romper room to anybody? They never said my name on romper room. Not once did that, you know what, say Dean once, homesick. Not once in all those years.
I'm with you.
Yeah. They didn't say Dean? You were paying attention, Michelle?
I was. So I should just let you guys know, we had a meeting last night. Sustainability, we used the OWL. We were in person and we had 2 or 3 people Zooming in, and it was great.
Worked well, Michelle?
Yeah, it worked really well. I was really impressed. We thought it would be great to get it projected onto the screen so that everybody can see the virtual participants. I brought my laptop because I wanted to watch to see what it looked like. It was cool because the OWL would put in up to 3, it was like 1 square on the Zoom meeting, and it could have up to 3 speakers there. So it was pretty neat, and it moved around as people spoke. It picked up the voices. We could hear, I guess, I don't know, however it was set up, we could hear the Zoom participants. So it was cool.
Right. What room were you in?
The conference room.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's about the right size room for it. I think more
I
than,
agree.
yeah, good.
I agree. And I don't know that it would pick up audience so well. And we were set up in a square and we had it directly in the middle of us. So that seemed to work really well.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Hi, Dan. Hi, Joan. Hi, Mary Ann.
Hi, guys.
Hello to everyone.
Jimmy, we have one gentleman here from Gabriella Trucks, so can we maybe move that on the agenda up a little bit
Sure.
since it's such a lengthy agenda?
Is that the only one we got, Mayor?
We got 3 bids, but this is the only gentleman that's here.
Gotcha. So are they there in the office? You got them.
And you don't forget subsequent business,
Yeah.
the sidewalks, I think. The sidewalks,
For,
invitation to bid for the sidewalks.
oh, yes. Yep. Thanks, Mayor.
Yep.
Hi, Jay.
Who else is here?
Okay. I've got 5:30. We'll call the meeting to order. I would make a motion that we add subsequent business to the agenda, not already there.
I'll second that.
What would that be?
There'd be 2 things, Jay. One would be, in addition to our MOU with the Milford Health Department, the fact that Mike Crespin retired this year, we need to appoint Lisa Morrissey as health director. And the other would be, we've got our designs done for the new Preston sidewalks, so we want to put that out to bid.
Great. Okay.
So what I'd like to do is, we'll do the approval of, I take a motion for the approval of May 27 minutes of the Board of Selectmen.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd like to move up on the agenda, the opening of the truck bids, because we have a gentleman at the office.
He wants to go home? No problem. Okay.
Mary Ann, are you gonna do the honors? Okay.
I guess so.
How many bids do we have, Mary Ann?
3.
All right, good.
Okay, so we have Freightliner. Bear with me because everybody probably has it on a different format. Um, hmm. Okay, the total bid from Freightliner is $173,178.23. Estimated delivery December 2021. Optional trade-in. For the 2006 International is 14.5, and for the 2013 International, 30,000. That's that. Okay. Gabriella Truck, correct me if I misinterpret this, sir. Yeah, total cab and chassis, according to bid specifications, 135,367. Total body build package, 68,450, with the total bid being 203,817. Okay, delivery 365 days.
What was that, Mary Ann? Delivery was what?
365 days.
Okay,
The trade-in for would be 7,000 for the 2006 and 13,500 for the 2013 International. Got it all? I got it all?
Yeah, but you might want to do the other two.
Oh, there's two separate bids? Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay.
I know it's, I took from multiple bids and I know it gets a little.
Okay, so they have additional bid, two bids. Again, the total cabin chassis, 135,367. The body build package, 66,562 for a total bid of 201,929. 365 days. Are they turn-ins the same? Yeah.
They're all the
Yeah,
same.
okay.
Everything's the same. The only thing that changes is
Okay.
the dump body.
And the third one, again, 135,367 with the body, 55,423.09 for a total of 190,790.09. Like all of them are the 365-day delivery.
okay.
And the last but not least is from Western Star, Connecticut. Okay, the total bid, 174,181. Estimated delivery, 370 days. With a trade-in for the 2006 International, 14,500. And 30,000 for the 2013 International. And that's it.
Thank you, Mary Ann.
Mary Ann, could you just give me verify, the only thing, I know what, we're gonna have Jim and Kevin look at it and we'll decide it in a later meeting, but the first one, Freightliner, what did they say we could get it by? Did they say December of 2021?
December 2021, yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll go on to communications. There being none, we'll go to appointments and resignations. Let me just, I'd like to just read off. So we have the reappointment of Joe Fredlin to the Building and Properties Commission until 7/1/24. Reappointment of Bob Papson to the Inland Wetlands Commission until 6/30/24. Reappointment of Cindy Brissette to the Judea Cemetery Commission until 8/30/26. And reappointment of Dean Sargent to the Lake Warrenlog Authority until 6/30/24. All of these folks are veteran commissioners, and I would make the motion that we make those reappointments to their respective commissions.
I'll second that, but did we get a letter from this Dean Sargent guy about what he does on the Lake Warramog Authority? I'm not really clear about
You have not, and I would like to, can I have the floor for about 20 minutes?
that.
I'd like to say, yeah,
Thank you. And Jim, I just wanted to say it to thank in our note minutes there to thank all these folks for the work they've done and for agreeing to re-up again. So thank you. So
Absolutely. Did we
I
have,
have one correction on your agenda, everyone. It says that Cindy Brissette would be into 8:30:26. That was my error typing. It's 6:30:26 like all the others.
okay, thank you.
I would make that motion as amended.
Thank you.
Second that.
Second, any more discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
But with that, I'd like to make the motion that we appoint Lisa Morrissey as the Town of Washington's Health Director.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Just want to explain, Jim, what we do with what we know about
Yeah, so,
it.
yeah, we have what they call a memorandum of understanding with the town of Milford. It's essentially a contract that we contract services. We have an individual from the health department in our office at least twice a week to sign off on our health permits. And this is essentially appointing Lisa is in the wake of the retirement of Mike Crespin, who was the long-serving health director.
Right. Good. Yep. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
First Selectmen's report. I just have two things. We finally did get clarity on our allotment from the ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act. In the town of Washington, with our town allotment and county allotment, we'll be receiving just over $1 million. The first installment of around 507,000 will be this year, should be in the next couple of weeks, with the second installment coming next year. We're still sifting through some of the Treasury's guidance on acceptable uses, but there seems to be quite a bit of broad latitude in terms of, it supports the arts, it supports individuals, it supports businesses. But we'll work through that and continue to go through it. My sense is on the spending of it, it's got to act. I'm guessing you would have a list of expenditures and go to a town meeting and get approval for those. That's my guess. Rather than the Board of Selectmen or the Board of Finance, I think it's probably appropriate to bring it to town meeting.
Jim, that's a good question. I think that's something we need to find out about. I don't have a problem with that, but I think it's something we need to know. And secondly, do we know a time frame for when we have to spend this money? Because that obviously has a big impact on the kind of things we might want to do.
Yeah, it looks like now, Jay, and I'll get confirmation, but it looks like the first allotment by 2024 and the second by 2026.
But to Jay's point, I think more than when we get it, how long can you sit on that? I think that will influence how we spend it, is if there is a time frame on getting it spent.
Yeah, like I said, I believe the first $500,000 has to be expended by 2024.
Oh, I misunderstood you too. I thought you meant we weren't getting it until
Right.
2024.
Okay.
No, part of the ARPA language dictated that the state cannot hang on to it for more than like 30 days. So we should have it, I think, within a couple of weeks
Right.
now.
So it was 2024 and 2026. Was that at the other half? Okay.
I believe, Jay, but I'll get confirmation of that.
Yeah.
The second thing is I spoke
Wow.
yesterday with our health department, and our town is now just cracked the 70% vaccinated rate, which is huge. She was tickled to death. She said that's
Wow.
an incredible milestone to hit. Of course, with that, you get a little sugar and a little vinegar. She told me we did have one confirmed case last week.
Oh, wow.
Even 70% is great, but I'm still urging people to get this
Sure.
thing.
And Jim, as part of that, I held a meeting yesterday. I was going to bring this up later, but since you brought it up here in terms of vaccine, the Sustainability Committee held a meeting in-person meeting in the office I think we're the first group to do that. We used the OWL, Dean, and it worked great, by the way. We had 3 people who dialed in, and we had 5 people in the meeting. Everybody in the meeting was vaccinated. So we made the decision, and I think this is something, why I'm bringing this up, we made the decision that we could take our masks off since we were all vaccinated in that room. but I do think there seems to be I've been down in town a couple of times now the last couple of weeks, and I think there is some confusion about what we're requiring with masks and all. So I just think whether you have that information you want to, things are changing. I understand that. But I'm not sure if you want to talk about that now, or if we want to relook at what our guidelines are.
No, I think that's a good idea, Jay. It's funny because CDC, or at least the state, relative to meetings, has changed almost daily. That's an exaggeration, but what they ended up with is now you can do in-person, hybrid, or solely virtual. So it's up to the individuals, and that's much like the mask mandate. CDC has removed virtually all of the mask mandates. But with that said, individual businesses, municipalities, schools still reserve the right to require people to wear masks in lieu of, verifying vaccinations and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think the issue is the confusion seemed to be as people who were at that meeting weren't sure whether the town had a requirement for a mask in a meeting or not. I know I've gone into, sign checks today, for example, and I was wearing a mask. I took the people weren't wearing, it's confused. I'm not sure if we've decided that it's up to the individual, or we as a town have a policy still, you need to wear a mask in town hall.
We do, Jay. What we decided was the first month we were open in town hall, we asked visitors who come in, same thing, just to wear a mask while they're in the building. I think that's going to go by the wayside come July. My sense of it, and I'd like to hear you guys' opinion, is by July 1st, every man, woman, and child in town will have had the opportunity to be fully vaccinated. So if they're not, I would highly urge them to wear a mask to protect themselves. But again, we've got to come out of this thing at some point. The options are there.
I tend to agree, Jim. I think and again, I'm no expert. You hear stuff all the time, but it seems those folks that are fully vaccinated are protected, and I'm fine with that personally. And as I said, with the meeting, we had the only downside of the meeting, Dean, was we had one laptop there that if depending on how it was turned, we could see who was online. But I know we're looking to try to get a camera to have that put up on the screen or something so that we can see who's online. You could hear them whenever they wanted to talk. They were able to talk. It was no problem. That worked out great.
We can hook that up to the projector in there, not the TV, but the projector. So that does work, and you would be seeing the people from the other end that way.
Right. But, so I think, Jim, that's something else we should consider. If commissions are ready, we can get that set up and get some. Dennis happened to be the staff person who was there for us, and he had everything set up. It all worked. It was great. So just getting the projector part, we didn't do that, but I guess it's available that we could have done that. So
I think that's going to stay with us. I mean,
I think it was great. Yeah,
it makes it easier for people to participate. I think it's going to be with us.
I agree. And actually, we had somebody who was out of town who couldn't come. Wouldn't have been at the meeting if we didn't do it that way. So it was great. It really worked out well.
In the vein of mask wearing, if I may, very quickly, getting back to the government money, especially the 507, I think we should sooner than later put together some folks to start to put together how we're going to spend that, assuming that we are going to go then to a town meeting to get approval for that or a vote on it or whatever. But I think we ought to start to build up some ideas. One of them that jumps out at me right away is I'd like to go from 70% to 100%. So maybe some of that funding on a real, we could get creative. We could do a little lottery here and say, come and get back, we can get the last 3,000 people to have a shot in the arm. 70% is going to be the national average pretty soon. So we shouldn't be too proud of that. Here in Washington, we try to win the democracy prize with, close to 100%. Let's shoot higher and work. Maybe that'll take a little money, invest some of this money to get the word out and get it,
You'll have people showing up to get vaccinated twice if they think they can win a lottery of 30% of the town.
But I haven't gotten one yet. Yeah, I forget. Well, I don't know what I got, but I didn't get vaccinated, so I'm coming again. Yeah, I'm
not advocating resting on our laurels. I'm just saying we continue to move along with this in a pretty good manner.
Agreed, but that'd be one of the things I'd like to see a push towards. It's one of the things obviously we could spend money on. Maybe we shouldn't have to spend any money on that. A little bit of public
That's true
campaign.
too. That's true.
You know, anyhow. But I do think we ought to start to maybe put a team together to start to look at ideas, Jim, because sooner than later, because, you know,
I've got a Word document full of ideas, believe it or not, Dean. When this ARPA thing first came out a few months ago and they were talking about it, deciding how they were going to do it, I've had businesses reach out. I've had churches reach out, arts and culture type institutions, talk about emergency shelters, maybe putting some of the funding that we reluctantly couldn't put in, for some of our art institutions and all those things.
Right.
I've got a pretty good list going, and we'll certainly get together on all that.
but
Great.
I would, just caution, the COVID hot tub may not be the best idea you had, but, I'm sorry. I know we're on the record. I apologize. It's a joke, everybody.
Yes, we got it.
We put that in parentheses in the minutes with you, Dean.
Thank you.
right.
And that's all I have for my report. If we
Okay.
move into old business, we've taken care of the dump truck bids. Talking about commission vacancies, and I just wanted to note that I had two commissions, housing and planning, reach out with candidates, but I wanted to keep, they had broad support, but I wanted to make sure we stuck with the policies we had put in a year ago. And I reached back out and just asked those individuals to give us a brief letter of interest and a bio. So
Thank you.
that's something we can address, so that'll fill two vacancies, but the overall problem, I wouldn't say it's dire, but we definitely, I think it's worth exploring, whether it's through the email blast, posting on the website, Explore Washington. It's definitely maybe a broader effort on our part would bring some results, because we've gotten the interest of some young people in town, which is fantastic.
Yep. Well, and that's what I was wondering, Jim. We do right now when we have this. I know we notify the two, the Republican and Democratic town committees, especially if they're for elected officials. So, what else do we do regularly right now?
That's probably it, or rely on word of mouth from the commissioners that are already seated. So
Right.
I think if Mary Ann was kind enough to do up a separate Word document that listed lists all the vacancies. If we somehow get that in the email blast, get it on the website, and get it on Explore Washington.
I think those are great ideas, Jim. I was thinking, and this came up partly, I see Michelle is here too. We were talking about some stuff under sustainability. It was equity training that we were talking about, really, how do we look at that in Washington in equity? And I think our town is more looking at young people versus older people, people with kids, people without kids. It's not, we don't have the demographics that some of the bigger cities have. So we were talking about a little bit about how to, with the housing plan, how to get some information out. Michelle was talking about doing some surveying, like at the baseball games, downtown at the park, park and rec activities, up at the town beach. So I don't know if that's I'm just trying to think of what other, we don't have any kind of a board down at the park or up at the lake, do we, where we post notices or anything like that? Right?
There is a board at the pavilion, Jay, that things
Yeah.
can be put on. I don't know how many people go around and watch it.
Look at it. Yeah, I'm just trying. And the other thought that I had was, if whether we go to a PTO meeting and speak to people, or that kind of thing where you have some face to face. I don't know, some of the other groups in town. Just trying to think of groups that don't normally maybe not hear about this, the vacancies or stuff. So I'm just trying to throw out some.
That's a good idea, Jay, in the sense of we could take Mary Ann's Word document and a brief letter from the Board of Selectmen and send it off to Lions Club, Rotary Club, all these places. That's a really good idea.
The PTOs, the PTO.
I would submit, guys, that the groups you're talking about is the demographic we already hit.
To some degree, I agree.
I think that Linda and Michelle can speak to the fact that our social media and all of our media doesn't hit 40 and below, and those groups you're talking about doesn't hit that group either. And I think that's something we can really look at, or should look at, that our kids generation they're not volunteering because they don't know that there's a need. They're not aware. We're not hitting.
I agree with you, Dean, but I think the way to reach them is to put that in the letter crafted by the Board of Selectmen is this is sort of our target audience and not be ashamed of that. You know, we're looking for young people to get involved.
I totally agree, Jim. All I'm saying is suggesting that the outlets that you're reaching out to, from the PTO to the I forget, you said Lions Club, whoever it is, these are not the people I think that we're missing, I suspect.
No,
But-
my hope would be they could put us in touch with those people or get the word out.
Right, right. Even the WBA is another one. I mean, that has a wide range of groups of people on there, you know,
Yep.
not all Washington residents, I understand, but still.
Right.
I agree with you, Dean. That's why I kind of brought it up, because I don't know. I mentioned the PTO because the PTO seems to be, you know, at least I had kids when I was in my 20s and 30s. So, you know, I would have heard about it from those groups for sure.
That's true. That's probably you're right, G. That's probably closer to the demographic that we need to reach. You're right. Younger parents, and you're right.
And I think that, Jim, that would be a great first start, and see what happens. And then we can talk about, I mean, I had thought about, you know, do we go to some of those meetings, and we could, maybe in the letter, we can craft a state telling them that we're available if they'd like to have somebody come and talk about what it, you know, the various commissions and what's involved in being a member or whatever too.
The vast rewards.
Yeah.
Everybody in
Great
this
pay.
I'm looking at the screen. Everybody in this meeting has dedicated those countless hours and
Right.
double the pay and
Right. So anyway, thank you. That'd be
Then
great.
every one of us would say, we're glad we do it. Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, so we need to show people that, you know, yes, you're good of your time, but you will get more back than you
That's
would,
right.
I promise you. And
Right.
so, yeah.
Great.
fellas, I'd like to, well, first I'll
Sounds good.
apologize. I'm going to table the transfer station fees. I met with our attendants yesterday and they had some more input and I want to make sure that's included. So
Right.
I don't want us to act on anything tonight, but we will get it done before.
All right.
Fair enough.
I'd like to turn things over a bit to Jay and talk a little bit about the Connecticut Green Bank.
Uh-oh.
You're muted.
Okay, I'm unmuted now. I don't know what I hit, but anyway, a while back I attended some training that came through. I think it's probably through the sustainability, state of Connecticut sustainability stuff that we've been working on, about a workshop on solar through the Connecticut Green Bank. I've attended a workshop. We had some people come in town, and I've talked about this before, so I won't go in too detail, but the idea is the Connecticut Green Bank basically funds solar projects in communities. They put out an RFP to bidders to bid on that. The Connecticut Green Bank owns the equipment. They own the solar panels. We're not responsible for anything that happens to them, any repairs required, all that kind of thing. And the benefit to the town is, in short, that we get a discounted rate somewhere between 10 to 20% on our electrical bills for a 20-year period. I went and raised this to the board as an opportunity for us to look into solar. I know there have been some folks who have talked about this in the past. There are other avenues. This was just something that I discovered. I will say up front, I am no solar expert, but it seemed like one of those a good deal to look into. The letter of intent that I distributed to the board earlier that was with our packet is a letter of intent that we need, that if we want to pursue this, we would sign it. As it says in the letter of intent, this letter sets forth certain non-binding understandings between the parties. We do not have to sign up to do this until after they do the bidding and after they identify the specific amount of money that we would save on our electric bills. So this does not, just signing this today does not end from here, commit us from here. The only thing it allows the Connecticut Green Bank to do is to go out to bid, and they're collecting information from other towns. So it's not just Washington. It'll be a bid with, I don't know, half a dozen to a dozen towns involved. Obviously, the more they get, probably the lower the cost for installation, which would then result in a higher percentage discount for us. Question when this came on the agenda that people have asked me about why the 3 buildings that we were looking at, we gave them a list of all of our buildings and all of our electrical charges over the last 2 or 3 years for them to look at to see which buildings would be appropriate. They identified 3: the town hall, the fire department on Beebrook Road, and also Washington Primary School. And as you all know, we own Washington Primary School, although we lease it back to the school for, I guess it's $1 a year. The question was asked, why not some other buildings like the New Preston Firehouse or the Public Works Department? And I've asked them, and I can give you I don't have that information today, but when we met, basically they indicated to me that the data they had suggested that those buildings wouldn't be worth doing with the amount of electrical use they have, is basically what I understand. But I'll get that in writing from them, and possibly we can add those buildings. I did have some discussion with the Region 12 folks. Region 12 has looked at Washington Primary in the past, and there has been some issues with whether the gym can hold the equipment. So that's still a question that we're not sure about. They're interested in doing it if they feel that the building can take the weight that would be put on it, and that's a question. So the other issue that came up is, what if we sign this letter of intent, what do we do next? And I think clearly we would need to talk to planning and the other groups in our town clearly the trustees. One of the options I think I presented to you guys at the last meeting was a picture of where the panels would go. And their Connecticut Green Bank is proposing they go on Town Hall as an example. Well, I don't know if everybody in town would love to see solar panels on Town Hall. So I think that's something, we need to explore more and clearly talk to the trustees as well. So there's still a lot of work to do before we see this through. Today I'm asking the board to approve this letter of intent so we can continue to work with the Connecticut Green Bank just to get them moving on going out to bid. Any questions or,
Not for me, Jay. I think it's terrific. And the fact that it doesn't commit us to anything. I do have somebody I would have take a look at it. A friend of mine is a bit of a solar expert. But I don't think, what Greenbank does is premature for him to look at it. I think once our proposal's in, he would look at it and make a plan from there. So.
And I see Chris Charles is trying to log in now, but he also recommended an individual who also has done some work, does a lot of work in this, who lives in Warren, but has been involved in Washington stuff as before. And so that's what I'm looking for. Again, I'm not an expert. I just think this is the next step to keep this process moving, is for us to approve this letter of intent. I'll make the motion that the Board of Selectmen approve the letter of intent as distributed with the Connecticut Green Bank.
Second. I'll second that, Jay, for sure. And the only thing I would advise, in addition to, feedback from townspeople relative to these town-owned properties, is definitely the Board of Trustees for Town Hall.
Absolutely, yeah.
But
yeah. And I think we need to, I know, we need to look at whatever regs we have. I don't, in town in terms of planning or zoning or anybody else that, because obviously we've talked about solar and that in our POCD over the years. So this, we would follow up with them. All right.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. Hold on one second. Okay, next item would be the MOU with the town of Milford. Fellas, it's a little bit lengthy. I had sent it out to you. I didn't know if you had a chance to review. It's pretty boilerplate.
I did review it, Jim, and my question was, 2 questions I had. One is it pretty, I've looked at this before, but I didn't have the prior document with me. It's pretty much what the prior years have been.
Right in line with that, Jay.
Okay, and the cost is the same as well?
There was a small increase, a small percentage increase for the year, which was anticipated.
Okay, we budgeted, we're okay, and that's fine, because I know we approved this in the past, so.
So I would make that motion. Dean, did you have a question?
I do not. I looked at it. It looked fine to me. I'll second that motion.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jay, I can screen share if you want the pollinator pathway.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yep, hold on one second.
While he's doing that, I'll just let people know.
Can everyone see
As-
that?
There you go.
Yes.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay.
So for a little background, as most of you know, we have a sustainability committee that is working on sustainable activities and actions in town. And one of the things we're working towards is making Washington a sustainable community. One of the things that is part of there's 13 different action items. One of them involves a number of things with land, which many of them Washington has done. And the pollinator pathway is something I heard about a couple of years ago that has been started not just in Connecticut, but around the country. The idea to encourage pollinators and providing them with land that they can move from place to place, a pollinator pathway, if you will. Part of, and we have actually done, we did some, there was a training held by WEC a couple of weeks ago for online training that 20 or so, 30 people attended a couple of weeks ago. Actually, the Garden Club, I believe it is going to be putting in a pollinator pathway garden at Town Hall. And Steep Rock has been heavily involved in that for a number of years already. And I think it's the field. Michelle, are you still with us? I can't see everybody. I think it's the field at Maracostas, if I'm not mistaken, that they have planted. And is that the one, Michelle?
The one at Maricosta, they also have the Bronson field that
The
they.
Bronson one, that's right. That's been a couple of more years more that they have put that in place. So there's a lot of activity involved and going on. And as part of the Sustainable Connecticut, to prove the town is behind this kind of concept, is to approve this resolution that I distributed to the board earlier. Jim, do you want me to read it, or I don't know if it's too long,
Yeah, we can. I can screen share it again if
Yeah,
people.
sure. I can hit the high points on it.
Let me.
There's a bunch of whereases, and then therefore we support the idea. All right, so you can see here, basically the whereas that pollinators are in decline, whereas pollinator species such as bees, birds, butterflies, and other pollinating insects are vital to maintaining healthy and diverse ecosystems, and whereas native plants support pollinators and all wildlife in Washington, and whereas pollination is responsible for most of the food we eat, and whereas 5 native bees are threatened, endangered, or of special concern in Connecticut, and whereas the town of Washington is cognizant of the need for safe and healthy landscapes for its residents and habitats for important pollinators, and recent scientific research supports the benefits of restoring and reconnecting isolated patches of habitat. And therefore, and Jim, can you scroll down a little bit there for me? There you go. We are therefore, be it resolved, the town of Washington, Connecticut does hereby recognize and support the tenets of Pollinator Pathway Northeast, which encourages our residents to reduce lawn size, provide predominantly native and pollinator supporting plants, and assure a sequence of blooms from early spring through fall, protect and enrich soil by using organic yard care practices and avoiding application of synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, and treated mulch, and leave some areas of bare ground for ground nesting bees, and follow best practices for garden cleanup. Clean it up in the spring, allow plant heads to remain through winter to provide food for wildlife, keep plant stalks standing, and leave snags and dead wood for native bees to nest on flower beds through fall and winter. So it gives anybody an excuse not to rake your lawn, cut your leaf, whatever. So, and I like this one, have a water feature on your property. Obviously, we're recommending that to folks, is that's what the resolution is. It's not a demand or requirement, but we hope that people will follow it. And I don't know if you noticed around town this year, a number of signs on people's lawns called No Mow May. And there were signs, people actually didn't mow their lawns this May to help with this process. So I'll make the motion that we approve this resolution.
Jay, I would second with just one amendment, the date.
Yep.
We
Oh.
want to have that for June 10th, correct?
Ted, thank you. Yep, my fault. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
All right,
Next
all
item.
right. I think I'm still on, all right?
Yep.
All right, so the last thing on my list here anyway is sustainable purchasing policy. This also comes through the Sustainability Committee and is a policy that basically asks that the town, when we look at purchasing any kind of product, that we seek to procure materials, products, or services in the manner that integrates fiscal responsibility, social equity, and community and environmental stewardship. So what we're looking to do is encourage the purchase and use of materials, products, and services that best align with the town's fiscal, environmental, social, community, and economic goals. So it does not require us to buy stuff that if they don't meet the needs that we have, but it is trying to basically, I'm hearing myself twice. Are other people now?
No.
How's that? All right. Sounds better.
That's better.
So it basically encourages our employees, as when they think about purchasing products, that we look at purchasing products that, one, are fiscally responsible, but reduce the amount of pollutants, greenhouse gas emissions, that they purchase products that have a longer lifespan, are made of products that are recyclable as they can, reduce the amount of waste that we generate. The requirement here for us is basically to work with our staff. Primarily, I would think it's probably in the first selectman's office and over at the town garage, to look for products and services that meet these guidelines. And I think we do some of that already, quite frankly, in what we do. And this would basically put it on the record that the town is looking to make sure when we purchase that we keep those things in mind as we go to purchase products. So
Jay, did we
I
have,
provided you guys with copies of this previously, so it's not.
Yep. Did we
not
have
new to you.
a policy like this in place, Jay?
What's that?
Did we have a policy like this in
No,
place?
not that I'm aware of, no.
There was something, I thought I'd read something, Mary Ann, maybe, and it was relative to town hall and how we purchase or what we purchase in terms of, green chemicals and cleaning supplies.
Oh, yes, we put a policy in place regarding green cleaning products. So that essentially in any of our town buildings, as appropriate, that we would purchase products. And that sort of fits right with this, Jim. This just expands it to anything we buy, not just cleaning products, if you will.
Got it. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Jay. Did we get a second?
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
And just as an update on sustainability, the committee met last night, as I mentioned, and I think we're in pretty good shape to submit the documentation by August 24th. I think the date is, Michelle, right? August 24th. We were glad to hear it wasn't August 1st. It's August 24th. And hopefully in the fall, we'll be designated as a sustainable town in Connecticut. So
Excellent.
thanks for your help.
Thanks, Jay. And thank you, Michelle. So next on the agenda is the awarding of the bid for the Titus concept plan. And there were some questions about this, and I wanted to try and address what I could here. We actually went through this process months ago. And the only bidder we had was Cardinal Engineering. I remember we sent it out to some of our local architects, Peter Talbot. Peter had contacted me. He said he just didn't have enough time to put one together. He was swamped in work, I believe Reese Owen and a few others. But this was essentially to come up with a concept design to improve walkability, bicycle use, parking. We did a survey of the depot area to find out exactly where town property is, things of that nature. So this is to award that bid. Again, Cardinal was the only bidder to Cardinal
Can you
Engineering.
tell us about the bid, Jim? What's their bid, and what's the timeline in terms of their work, and what's their?
their bid, I don't have it in front of me, Jay, and like I said, it was months ago. I want to say it was around 28,000 for the entire.
I think it's 25.
20
Jim, hold on one sec.
Oh, okay, thanks, Mary Ann.
And
And
Jim,
then,
can you just tell us what the, I know we've talked about this before, but because in public here, so people will know. Do we have I forget what the timeline is for them to do the work, and they're going to present us with a plan that would come back with a cost and a concept of what could be done there. That's the idea?
it does, and essentially what it does is it's going to bolster our case for a grant from the state, which is going to cover the real lion's share of this project. So that's something that's really vital to enable us to get that grant. But it's also, it's just what it is. It's design work and show us what we can do in that depot area to enhance all those different properties.
Yep.
The total fee for the conceptual design, Jim and everyone else, is 25,000. And then there's a traffic data collection counts for 1,500.
So
And
for
I
a
would make-
traffic study.
I would make the motion, we award that to Cardinal Engineering.
I'll second it. I guess the only other thing, Mary Ann, is there anything that says anything about a time frame? That's the only, I forget if we usually, when we do these things, Jim, I usually ask to have a time frame put in the bid, but I don't remember if we did or not, so.
I don't believe we did on that one. I don't recall putting that in.
No, it talks about the meetings that they will need to have with us, also with the DOT, preparing the design, attend meeting with Town of Washington staff, submit it does not have a time frame, Jay, that I can find here.
All right.
Hey, what I can
Jim,
do is-
I'm happy to go ahead and prove this, but can you talk with Cardinal and ask them to give us then a timeline that we could,
Sure.
for the, by the next meeting, so that we have a sense. Sometimes if you don't do, my experience sometimes has been that if you don't do that, it gets dragged out. So I'd like to just have
No,
them
of
give-
course. Yeah, they'll provide that for us definitely by our next meeting, I'm sure.
Great.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So this past week, I got a letter from the Democratic Town Committee requesting that the Board of Selectmen absolutely take a look at a housing component for the Old Town Garage site. So with that said, the DTC is not the only one. As we recall, it was brought up at 2 of our public forums. I've had people call me about it. I think we need to do my suggestion is we need to do the due diligence to say, okay, what, sort of, I don't want to say start from scratch, but we have to see how we can incorporate this. If we can incorporate it, it may involve another RFP going out to design firms. But I think there's been enough talk about it that we would be remiss if we didn't consider this. I don't know how you guys feel.
Well, I would have to, go ahead, Dean, go ahead.
I agree, Jim. And again, you're exactly right. There's been enough pushback from enough groups, and it's certainly not too late in the process. So shame on us if we, are so entrenched in our plan that we can't, amend it as we go along. And when things come up, and you're right, this isn't the only group. So yeah, I hate to backtrack completely, but I do think we need to maybe go back to the firm we're using and say, can you do a modest viability study and then take it to the public?
Yeah, the only thing I would disagree with, Dean, is I think my sense is, and again, we've got to flesh this out, but my sense is that is a substantial enough change that I think it probably should go back out to bid.
That's fine.
Well, do you want to have them look at it first and see what that would cost for that? In other words, it doesn't cost us anything to have a conversation with them. It doesn't cost us another bid process and then awarding another bid. If they say, yeah, we can amend this. And then we chances are we got to put it out to bid anyhow again, but just trying to maybe save a step and some money. Maybe
To
not.
me, yeah, I think it's worth the conversation, but I think Jim's right. In the end, we're gonna, the cost of doing that kind of project will require us to go out to bid. And it might be a good thing, Dean, too, to get some other perspectives on that too, rather than just the one company, to see what other people have to, think, what other firms think about it. So my other thought was, it was sort of, there was a great study done. I always get it mixed up, 2001, 2, whatever that was back then, about affordable housing in that area. Kind of died pretty quickly. People in town didn't seem to support it much. When the idea of using that property for the senior center came up, I was glad to see something. I thought it was a great project. And there's part of me that's glad now that people have raised that affordable housing issue. It's clearly, and Michelle's group, and Leslie's group that have been looking at affordable housing, clearly that's an issue in our town. And that's a piece of property that we had that could be usable. So I think you're right. We need to go take another look at that space. I would love to be able to incorporate a senior center, a community center at that space, and have some affordable. I don't know what the land and what it could take, but I agree with you guys. I think we need to go back and take a look at that.
I think, I agree, Jay. And I think even a component, given the fact that the nebulous of this thing was a senior center, it evolved into a community center, but consider downsizing options for our seniors in town. We know that the model at Quarry Ridge was hugely successful, and I'm not proposing that. It depends on what the land can do, but I would consider, affordable / age restricted housing just as an option. So, but we'll get the ball rolling on it.
Great.
All right. And Jay, to your point, and Michelle, I think will agree with this. I'm almost certain. The public opinion about affordable housing, I think, has changed. People are aware of the need now, and it's Michelle's getting, I can't take any credit for it. Michelle's getting very positive feedback, and the groups are that people get it with almost no pushback. So you're right. I think we can revisit it.
Yeah, it's great that people have come forward about that. So come full circle around it, I guess, Dean.
I agree.
Okay, guys. So
we're all getting older.
maybe that's why.
Right. We had a lot on the agenda today, so I want to make sure any of our visitors, if they have issues.
Jim, excuse me, I'm sorry. We have to do the sidewalk bid.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, we didn't vote.
No, well, what are you voting on? Not the DTC letter. You don't have to vote on that.
No,
We have to put out the sidewalk bid.
Oh, you wanted to do that as well.
Yep.
Yep.
I would make a motion that we go out to bid. Mayor, do you have that in front of you, or?
Yep, I won't bore you with all the details, but the first paragraph basically is the town of Washington, Connecticut is seeking sealed bids for furnishing all labor, tools, materials, and equipment required for the replacement of the new Preston Center sidewalks. Bids will be received by the Town Hall 2 Bryan Plaza, Washington Depot, Connecticut until 10 a.m. local time on Thursday, July 15th, 2021. The bids will be publicly opened and read at the Town Hall at 10 a.m. that date. And then it tells you where plans and specifications are available, and we will get that published and off we'll go.
Thank you, Mary Ann.
So Jimmy, you making the motion?
I am.
I have one question maybe before you make that motion, Jim. Maybe I got to think this through a little bit, but this seems awfully similar to the pantry project, right? The
No.
study there. Not at all?
Not at all. This is something we got together. It's been trying to be fair, it's been trying to be put together over the last 4 or 5 years. But we got together with the merchants beginning last year, got a consensus on what they wanted. This is the actual bid for construction. So this isn't a design.
No, I get that. I was just trying to perhaps put the two projects together once it goes out to bid, once that design is done, but that's silly. Okay.
This is going to happen sooner than we would be
Correct,
ready for
correct.
the other one. And Jim, just so people know, we've had multiple conversations as well with DOT, because a lot of that is state-owned property where
Yeah, DOTJ, obviously the engineers, the merchants, our own highway department, some aspects were ours. So
Right.
yeah, there's been a lot of talk and a lot of site visits. Michelle, go ahead.
I just wanted to add, so there's no confusion, that the whole project got divided into 2 phases because there are some ADA compliance issues with the second part, which we're going to continue to work on. So this is actually, we're just bidding pretty much half of the sidewalk project. I don't want anyone to think that the whole thing is going to be done.
And can you tell which half, where is it from?
It's from Church Street to
New Preston Hill.
Preston Hill.
Okay,
Right. So
thank you.
just that block,
Yep,
all the ramps and everything and the curbing and all of that. And the intent is to continue to look further down, but we just had some issues with the crosswalk, and I've been in contact with the DOT engineer that reviewed the plans to see what we can do to get the second part of it on board.
Yeah, there was a feature in the design that we knew when it was brought up that it was going to trigger this with the DOT, with their engineers. And then unfortunately it did, and it made a mess out of things. So we just said, we're going to stop. We're going to complete this phase 1, which is the lion's share of the geography.
Right.
And then we'll take a look at the next portion and go from there. So this is just for that first phase.
and just 2 other points. We have the funds, we funded, well, we hope when the bids come in, but we did put money in our budget for this, so.
Right.
Yeah, and I do want to mention, because that Tony Beniti and I think Dan Shear is here as well. These 2 guys have been trying to do this for, I think, more than 5 years now. So they did a lot of legwork to get this thing going. I just want to thank them for the work they did.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Michelle.
The only thing I would say, because Jay will probably ask, is the way the bid language is written, it's to kind of push the work to the fall, which was at that's what the shop owners preferred.
Right.
I've been in communication with them. We're going to try to nail down a month. And I talked to the engineers about timing on pouring concrete. We're going to try to pour after the leaves fall, but before the holiday season. So we'll
Good luck.
We're trying.
That was part of the whole issue, was when to do it. So congratulations to you guys for trying.
Michelle, I believe that's about a 6-hour window.
I know. We're just a lot of communication, trying to keep everyone happy. So I'm curious to see how the bids come in. I hope also everyone's got so much work right now. I hope we can get it on the docket. But
Right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Michelle, too.
sure.
I need a
Like
second.
I'll second it.
Oh, all in favor?
I.
Thank you.
Last but certainly not least, we want to give, there was a lot on the agenda tonight. I want to give any of the visitors, like I said, if they had any issues. Leslie, you want to start?
Yeah, I would just, when you revisit the senior center, the community center and the housing units, you need to figure out what type of senior units you're looking at and the number that the property can handle.
Absolutely.
So, and senior housing basically is 1 level.
Yep.
We're starting from scratch with this one, Leslie. Everything's going to be considered.
All right, because it's going to be a tough one. I don't think you're going to get that many units in there if you're going to do that gigantic senior center, community center too. So
Right.
you might have to downsize.
We may not. We got to do our homework too. I mean,
Right.
it's important to flesh it out, I think.
Well, just so you know, we're working with the affordable housing plan. We're
Right.
also looking to come up with a map of an overlay of the business districts.
Yep.
And right now, we're looking at Marbledale as a possible starting point.
Okay.
Cool.
So you might want to
Great.
keep that in mind too.
Thanks, Leslie. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Hey, Jim,
Hey, Chris.
how you doing?
Good.
I wanted to be at the whole meeting, but I've been on a site walk with the Conservation Commission. So I'm calling from the woods.
All right.
Anyway, so this is kind of cool. So obviously I always have a lot of concerns or thoughts, but just the one right now would be with the going out for doing an RFP for a housing component to the community center or to the Old Town Garage parcel. The one thing I would hope is that you would have it open for bidding for a much longer period than 2 weeks. I mean, the 2 weeks that was allowed for the Titus plan, it wasn't that people weren't interested in bidding that work. It was just basically they looked at it and said, you know, that's an unrealistic amount of time. And I think that that was actually expressed by several people at the time when the RFP was, when the Board of Selectmen decided to do the RFP. So, you know, Peter Talbot would love to have had an opportunity to put a proposal if he'd had some time. So water over the dam,
We'll
if there
certainly
could,
consider that.
yeah. All right,
Fair
thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
One last thing is, I guess I'll just get the recording because I really wanted to hear what you were talking about with solar. But again, you snooze, you lose. I'll get the recording tomorrow. Thank you.
Thanks.
Chris,
Thanks,
feel
Chris.
free to touch base, which you've already, you know, we've already talked, so feel free to touch base, you know.
Yep. Thank you, Jay.
Anybody else in visitors? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
This has been too much fun. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.